The first thing Dr. Elias Vance noticed wasn't the blood. It was the silence. Not the peaceful kind, the suffocating, unnatural quiet of a ship that had forgotten how to breathe. Emergency lights flickered in long, dying pulses along the curved metallic corridor, painting everything in a sick, pulsing red. Somewhere deep in the hull, something groaned like a wounded animal. Elias stepped over a body. Not human. The alien's armor, sleek, silver, organic-looking, had been split open like a crushed insect. Whatever species it belonged to, it had died violently. Fast. Brutal. He didn't flinch. He'd seen worse back on Earth. "Doctor," crackled the comm in his ear. "You're entering a restricted royal sector. You are not authorized." Elias muted it with a tap. "Yeah," he muttered, adjusting the worn medical kit slung over his shoulder. "That's why I'm going." He moved faster. The distress beacon that pulled him here hadn't been meant for humans. It was encrypted, royal-grade alien tech. The kind that screamed stay away to anyone without clearance. But humans had a reputation for ignoring polite warnings. And Elias had a reputation for ignoring everything else. Another body. Then 3 more. Blaster burns. Clean shots. Professional. "Boarding party," he whispered. "Not pirates. Not scavengers. Something worse." He reached the sealed door at the end of the corridor. Massive. Reinforced. Cracked open just enough to suggest something had forced its way through. Elias exhaled slowly. "All right," he said to nobody. "Let's meet the patient." He slipped inside. The room beyond was chaos. Royal guards, if that's what they were, lay scattered like broken statues. Their armor glowed faintly, some kind of energy shielding that had clearly failed. The walls were scorched black. The air smelled of ozone, metal, and something sweet. Blood. Different species. Different chemistry. Same result. Dead. Then he saw her. At the center of the chamber, beneath a shattered holographic canopy, lay a figure draped in deep violet fabric. Smaller than the guards. Slender. Fragile. Alive. Barely. Elias moved instantly. He dropped to one knee beside her, hands already moving, scanning, assessing. His portable med scanner flickered as it struggled to interpret alien biology. Come on, he murmured. The readouts stabilized. Multiple internal hemorrhages. Organ failure. Unknown toxin. Neural disruption. She wasn't just dying. She was being erased. Of course, Elias muttered. Why keep it simple? A faint sound escaped her lips. Not quite a word. But close. Her eyes fluttered open. They were wrong. Not in a grotesque way, the wrong way humans might imagine, but beautifully terrifying. Iridescent, shifting colors like a storm trapped behind glass. They locked onto him. Confusion. Pain. Something else. Recognition? You're not, she whispered, her voice barely air. One of them. Elias gave a tight smile. No, princess. I'm worse. I'm a human doctor. A faint, broken laugh escaped her. Then she coughed, dark, shimmering blood staining her lips. Elias's expression hardened. Hey, he said sharply. Stay with me. You don't get to die today. I just got here. You don't understand. She breathed. They used void toxin. Elias paused. Void toxin? Her fingers weakly clutched at his sleeve. It doesn't just kill, it unmakes. No cure. Elias looked down at his scanner again. Then at his kit. Then back at her. Yeah, he said softly. That's what they always say. He opened his kit. Inside wasn't cutting-edge alien tech. No glowing miracle devices. Just human medicine. Crude. Adaptable. Relentless. All right, Elias said, rolling up his sleeves. Let's piss off some laws of physics. Somewhere far beyond the dying ship, a fleet waited. Black warships drifted in perfect formation, their hulls absorbing light like hungry voids. No insignias. No signals. Predators. Inside the largest vessel, a figure watched. Tall. Armored. Inhuman. Report, it said. A subordinate stepped forward, bowing low. The royal vessel has been neutralized. All resistance eliminated. The princess is dead, the figure finished calmly. A pause. Presumed dead, yes. The figure turned slightly. Presumed, it repeated, is a word used by those who fail. The subordinate swallowed. Send a retrieval team, the figure ordered. I want confirmation. And if there are survivors? A long silence. Then, erase them. Back in the ruined chamber, Elias was elbow deep in the impossible. Okay, he muttered, sweat dripping down his face. Your circulatory system makes no sense. Your organs are in the wrong places. And I'm pretty sure this thing, he tapped something gently, is either a liver or a bomb. The princess didn't respond. Her vitals were dropping fast. Too fast. Elias gritted his teeth. Void toxin, he muttered. Unmakes matter at a quantum level. Yeah, that's just fantastic. He paused. Then slowly, he smiled. All right, he whispered. Let's get creative. He pulled out a small vial. Clear liquid. Unremarkable. Human nanites. Experimental. Illegal in 12 systems. Never tried this on an alien royal before, he said. First time for everything. He injected it. The reaction was immediate. Her body convulsed violently. Alarm screamed from the scanner. Yeah, I know, Elias snapped. Shut up and adapt. The nanites swarmed. Rebuilding. Rewriting. Fighting something they weren't designed to fight. The void toxin pushed back. Reality itself seemed to glitch around her wounds. Elias leaned closer, voice low and fierce. Listen to me, he said. I don't care what that poison does. I don't care what your people believe. You're not dying on my watch. Her eyes flickered open again. Weak. Fading. Why? She whispered. Elias didn't hesitate. Because I said so? A beat. Then softer. And because someone out there is going to regret trying to kill you. The door behind him exploded inward. Elias didn't turn. Of course, he muttered. Right on schedule. Heavy footsteps. Weapons charging. A voice, cold and mechanical. Unknown life form. Step away from the target. Elias sighed. Yeah, no. He kept working. You are interfering with a classified extermination operation. Failure to comply will result in immediate termination. Elias finally glanced over his shoulder. 3 figures stood there. Not quite alive. Not quite machines. Weapons aimed directly at his head. He gave them a tired look. Take a number, he said. I'm busy saving your boss's worst mistake. They opened fire. Elias moved. Fast. Faster than a doctor should. He grabbed a fallen alien weapon without looking, rolled, fired once. One of them dropped. Turns out, he said, ducking behind a shattered pillar, humans are really good at multitasking. The other 2 advanced. Precise. Relentless. Elias checked the princess's vitals. Still dropping. Come on, he whispered. Another blast scorched past his shoulder. He winced. All right, he snapped, standing up. You want her? Come get her. It was messy. Brutal. Very human. No elegance. No alien precision. Just raw, stubborn survival. When it was over, the room was quiet again. Elias stood there, breathing hard, blood, some his, some not, dripping from his hands. He looked down at the princess. The scanner beeped. Steady. Alive. He let out a slow breath. Well, he said. That's new. Her eyes opened fully this time. Clear. Focused. Alive. She stared at him like she was seeing something impossible. You, she whispered. You defied the void. Elias gave a crooked smile. Lady, he said, slumping down beside her. I'm human. Defying things is kind of our whole brand. She studied him for a long moment. Then, quietly, My father, she said. The king, he will reward you beyond measure. Elias chuckled. Yeah, he said. That's what I'm afraid of. Far outside, the black fleet began to move. And for the first time in a very long time, the galaxy was about to learn a terrifying truth. They hadn't just failed to kill the princess. They had just given humanity a reason to get involved. The corridors weren't safe. Not even slightly. Elias half-dragged, half-carried the princess through the wrecked ship, each step ringing with the echo of distant, mechanical pursuit. Her body was fragile, trembling under the effects of the nanites and the lingering void toxin, but her eyes, those impossible, storm-colored eyes, burned with a stubborn, alien fire. Hold on, Elias said, voice tight. I promise you'll survive this. Mostly because I refuse to die on a ship that's already proven it hates humans. She coughed, a dark shimmer of alien blood spattering the floor. You're insane. Correction, he said, ducking a falling piece of ceiling. I'm human. Insanity is just policy. The ship groaned. The walls twisted under the pressure of decompression. Lights flickered violently. Somewhere far below, the engines shrieked in protest. Escape pods? Elias muttered. They're probably the only thing left that isn't trying to kill us, besides me, obviously. She shook her head weakly. No, they will. Yeah, he interrupted. I'll handle the rest. Humans handled the impossible. Look it up in your history archives. Her lips quirked into a faint, pained smile. Elias noticed. He filed it away. A human victory was always sweeter when someone else expected you to fail. They reached the shuttle bay. Broken hull panels floated lazily in zero-G. Several escape pods were still intact, doors hanging open like mouths in shock. Pick one, he said. Any. I don't care if it's purple. That's not the point. She lifted herself with great effort, leaning against him. Do you even know how to pilot these? Elias snorted. Not exactly. But I'm very good at pressing buttons until things go boom or fly away. Works on Earth. Works on aliens. Works on bad days. The first pod they entered was locked. The second resisted every attempt at access. The third hummed to life at his touch. Lucky number 3, he said, stepping inside. And don't ask me why it worked. I already told you, humans are unpredictable. The doors sealed. The pod shuddered, alarms screaming. Lights blazed. Where do we go? She asked, voice small. Elias pressed a series of buttons at random, scanning the displays. Anywhere that isn't orbiting a black fleet. Preferably somewhere they'll never think a human would take a princess. Got it? She blinked. Then, very slowly, she nodded. The pod shot into space. Behind them, the warships moved, vast black triangles cutting through the void, scanners sweeping. Nothing human had ever faced numbers like this and survived. Nothing alien expected survival, either, not when the universe had deemed them extinct before breakfast. You're insane, she repeated. Flattery will get you somewhere, Elias said, grinning despite the tension. The first wave of pursuit hit like lightning. Energy beams lanced through the void, tearing through debris, setting wreckage ablaze. Elias's fingers danced over the controls, guided by intuition rather than training. The pod wove and twisted, dodging and twisting again. He wasn't just fighting physics, he was fighting alien arrogance. The kind that assumed humans were inferior. They never saw it coming, he said aloud. We're like cockroaches with rocket packs. The princess's eyes widened. You compare us to cockroaches? Respectfully, he said. Cockroaches survive because they refuse to die. Humans do the same. Another volley of fire tore past. The pod shuddered violently. Lights flickered. Elias swore under his breath. Okay. New plan. Terrifying, probably illegal. Definitely human. He hit a hidden override on the control panel. The pod's hull warped, shimmering like liquid metal. Alien sensors wouldn't recognize it. Not for a few precious seconds. No, he said. Hold on tight. The pod blinked out of detection, slipping through the cracks in the enemy fleet's awareness. Impossible, she whispered. Not impossible, Elias corrected. Human. That's our brand. The seconds stretched. Then minutes. Then, just as the pursuit recalibrated, the pod dropped into a previously uncharted wormhole. Elias slapped the controls, laughing like a madman. And that, Your Highness, is why humans get called unpredictable. Welcome to the universe's worst-kept secret. Humans always have another card. She leaned against him, still weak, still trembling, but alive. You saved me. I did what humans do best, he said simply. We survive. We improvise. We make the impossible happen. You'll get used to it, eventually. The pod shot out of the wormhole into unclaimed space, stars stretching and bending as the human and alien royalty clung to life. But far behind them, across the cold void, the Black Fleet's sensors began to register an anomaly. A human had not only survived, but he had done the unthinkable. He had taken the prize out from under them. The King's fleet, the galaxy's most feared armada, paused. Algorithms ran. Commands issued. Nothing accounted for a human doctor with a stolen princess. And that pause, that hesitation, was all Elias needed. He glanced at her. By the way, he said, voice low, dangerous, with a grin that didn't reach the weariness in his eyes. Your dad owes me. Big time. And when humans get owed, the universe notices. Her eyes met his, fear mingled with awe, and just for a moment, the gap between alien royalty and human audacity collapsed. Behind them, in the void, the black ships regrouped. But the human had already vanished into the dark. And somewhere, deep in a secure chamber on a throne world, the king would soon learn the cost of underestimating humanity. The galaxy didn't just underestimate humans, it laughed at them. Until humans made them pay. By the time Elias and the princess emerged from the wormhole, they weren't just survivors. They were a signal. A warning. A declaration. And the aliens, well, they were about to realize exactly how wrong they had been. The princess leaned against him in the shuttle. Her breath came in short, shuddering gasps. Her glowing eyes flickered from storm gray to violet, like she was recalibrating to life itself. Do you understand what you've done? She whispered. Elias shrugged, one hand on the controls, the other keeping her upright. Saved your ass. That's literally the only thing I understand perfectly. The rest, we'll figure out. She shook her head weakly. You don't understand. My father, his fleet, it will hunt us across half the stars. The king doesn't forgive mistakes. Good, Elias said, his grin tight, sharp. Humans don't forgive mistakes either. Somewhere behind them, sensors pinged faintly. Tiny blips. A pursuit squad had made it through. 3 ships, small, fast, lethal. The kind designed to finish jobs like this quietly. Elias leaned back, studying them. Okay. Option 1, engage and die horribly. Option 2, do something humans invented called make a mess they'll never forget. I vote option 2. The princess frowned. You mean, fight them? Exactly, he said. But not like you think. Humans have a different style of combat. We improvise. We use chaos. We make math bend in our favor. And sometimes we cheat physics because we're that annoying. She tilted her head, confused and terrified. We have no weapons, only this shuttle. And you barely know how it flies. He laughed, low and dangerous. Exactly. That's why it works. Predictable behavior is for predictable species. Humans are the opposite of predictable. He hit the controls. The shuttle leapt forward, dodging lasers in a way that defied everything alien programmers thought possible. Sensors glitched. Weapons fired at empty space. Every shot missed, and every maneuver left the enemy pilots reeling. "You're insane," she said again. "Correction," Elias said, firing back a stolen energy pulse he barely understood. "I'm human. Insane is the side effect." The first squad was gone in minutes. Not destroyed, but humiliated. Worse. Surprised. And aliens never like to be surprised. From orbit of a nearby gas giant, the king watched the data feed. "Impossible," he muttered. His voice was calm, but the tone in the room told the attendants everything. Rage. Fear. "They should be dead," said a subordinate. "All protocol indicates." "They should be dead," the king repeated, voice low, teeth clenched. "Yet here they are. Still alive. Still defiant. Send the fleet." The fleet obeyed. 1,000 ships tore across the void toward the stolen princess. Their intention was singular: crush humanity, retrieve the heir, erase failure from memory. Elias checked the incoming trajectory. "Well, that's ambitious. Let's see how ambitious fares against human creativity." He hit a series of buttons on the shuttle, activating every countermeasure, decoy, and unpredictable system he could find. The shuttle shimmered, phased slightly, and, most importantly, turned the pursuit into a spectacle of chaos. Energy beams bounced off decoy pods. Missiles detonated harmlessly in vacuum. Alien targeting arrays spun uselessly as human ingenuity bent physics into a joke they couldn't understand. You're unbelievable," she whispered. "Unbelievable is another human specialty," he said, eyes glinting. "Don't forget it." By the time they emerged near a neutral star system, Elias had drawn the aliens into a trap, a gravitational anomaly he detected by pure intuition, coupled with a reckless disregard for protocol. The enemy fleet entered in formation, confident, arrogant, predictable. Then the stars betrayed them. Ships collided, sensors overloaded, energy pulses misfired. Dozens of alien vessels erupted in fire, a chain reaction set off by nothing more than human improvisation and a physics law, or three, they had bent to survive. The princess stared, awe mixing with horror. You destroyed them?" "Partially," Elias said, wiping sweat from his brow. "Mostly. I just convinced them that humans are terrifying. That's usually enough." A comm pinged. A signal from her father, the king. "Princess." The voice was cold, imperial. "Report. Are you safe?" Elias grabbed the comm. "Your daughter's safe. But you might want to reconsider your fleet deployment. Humans are unpredictable." There was silence on the other side. Then, carefully measured, the king spoke. "Who are you?" Elias smirked. "Doctor. Human. And the guy who just made your fleet think twice about underestimating us." Behind him, the princess laughed softly. It was weak, but genuine. The first time in days she had laughed since the attack. "I underestimated you," she admitted, looking at him. "I thought humans were small, fragile, irrelevant." Elias shrugged. "You'll find a lot of species think that. Most don't live long enough to regret it." The wormhole behind them winked closed. For the first time in the galaxy's history, a human had not only saved an alien royal but had turned the tables on an entire armada. The king would recover. He would strike back. But he would never forget the audacity of the human who stole his daughter from the void itself. And somewhere deep in uncharted space, Elias smiled. Humanity wasn't just surviving. Humans were rewriting the rules. And the galaxy? The galaxy was about to learn that humans weren't just a minor nuisance. Humans were the storm they'd all underestimated. The wormhole spat them out into deep space, uncharted, unclaimed, untouched by any empire. Stars stretched like glittering scars across the black void. Elias slumped against the controls, sweat and blood streaking his face, chest heaving. The princess leaned heavily against him, but her eyes, storm-gray now, steady, burned with purpose. "Doctor," she said softly, voice stronger than she'd sounded in days. You saved my life. My father, the king, he will reward you. Elias snorted. Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of. Every story about alien kings ends with a reward that usually involves dying spectacularly or becoming a ceremonial decoration. She laughed. Weak, yes, but genuine. He will honor you, human. You are unlike any other. My father, he does not forgive easily. But he never forgets genius. He never forgets audacity. Elias gave a crooked smile. Ah. So basically, I've got a galactic target on my back, but he calls it a gift. Great. Humanity's brand new trophy, marked for glory or death. Somewhere in the distance, the Black Fleet regrouped. Ships blinked like eyes in the void, sensors scanning, calculating, seeking the anomaly they had failed to crush. The king's wrath was coming. Fast. Calculated. Deadly. But Elias had a plan. Not a polite, carefully sanctioned plan. A human plan. Chaotic, absurd, and devastatingly effective. He keyed the shuttle's comm to the princess's private channel. Listen, I don't have a ton of time, so here's the deal, you let me handle this my way, or we get eaten alive. She met his gaze. Your way is reckless. Dangerous. Likely to make enemies of my father's entire empire. Exactly, Elias said, leaning close, voice low, deadly. That's why it works. The first signal he sent was subtle. A simple, untraceable broadcast, encoded in human logic puzzles, imperceptible to alien AI. It traveled faster than their fleet's calculations, slipping into black markets, pirate networks, and rogue colonies. The message: a human has stolen the royal daughter. She is alive. Interference will be fatal. Proceed at your own risk. By the time the king's fleet realized the broadcast existed, rumors had already metastasized across dozens of systems. Aliens who had never met humans were now terrified of them. Stories of a single human doctor surviving annihilation, rescuing royalty, and outmaneuvering an entire armada spread like wildfire. Elias leaned back, grinning, wiping a streak of blood from his face. See? Humans don't need an army. We just need imagination and guts. The princess stared, all mixing with disbelief. You've terrified the entire galaxy. Exactly, he said. Welcome to humanity. We're small. We're fragile. We look harmless. Until you learn the hard way that we are not. Weeks passed. The Black Fleet retreated to lick its wounds, ashamed, humiliated, recalculating every assumption about humans. And then the king acted. A vessel appeared. Massive, gold and obsidian, thrumming with power. Royal. Unquestionable. The air inside smelled of authority and fury. Elias expected a trap. A fleet waiting to vaporize him. But what arrived wasn't wrath. Not entirely. The king himself. Towering, regal, alien, but not impervious to human audacity. His eyes, dark and imperious, fixed on Elias. You have done the impossible, the king said, voice resonant, deep, echoing through the shuttle's calm. You saved my daughter. You humiliated my fleet. You demonstrated remarkable ingenuity. Elias tilted his head. So, you're rewarding me? The king's expression was unreadable for a moment. Then he extended a hand, alien, glinting with ceremonial rings. A human might have assumed diplomacy. You will have authority, resources, knowledge, technology beyond your current understanding. You will be an emissary of Earth, recognized across the stars. But, his gaze sharpened, you are not to be trusted lightly. You will act with human unpredictability, yes, but wisely. The galaxy will watch you. And you will watch it. Elias stared. For the first time, he felt something he hadn't in weeks, respect, mingled with fear. He accepted the hand. That's terrifyingly generous. And exactly what I expected from a human story. The princess leaned closer. Father, he recognizes your genius. You have changed the course of history. Elias shrugged. Nah. Humans just survive. History is just catching up. The king's fleet had retreated, humiliated, but not destroyed. Elias knew this wasn't the end. It would never be the end. Humans had made a mark, a scar across the galaxy. But the galaxy had no idea what humans were capable of when cornered, when underestimated, when challenged to do the impossible. In a private moment, the princess looked at Elias, her eyes storm gray again. You saved me, and the galaxy now fears humanity because of you. He laughed, low and dangerous. Lady, humans always leave an impression. It's kind of our thing. Survive. Adapt. Outthink. Outfight. Outlast. And occasionally, terrify the entire universe. She smiled faintly, shaking her head. We are in your debt, human doctor. Save the speeches, he interrupted, already turning to his controls. Let's get home before your father decides to throw a gala, and I'm the main course. And as the shuttle jumped into hyperspace, Elias looked out at the stars, realizing something fundamental. Humans were underestimated by everyone. Every alien empire. Every code, every law, every expectation. And that was the point. The galaxy could plan, calculate, and strategize all it wanted. But humans, stubborn, absurd, defiant humans, would always find a way. Always survive. Always win. And sometimes, just sometimes, they would rewrite the rules entirely. The princess, the king, the entire fleet, none of them would forget the human who defied death, defied logic, and left a mark on the universe that would echo for generations. Elias Vance, human doctor, survivor, and master of impossible odds, leaned back, cracked a smile, and muttered to himself. HFY indeed.